College baseball is back and getting more love than ever, particularly from TV networks. So, with ratings and interest ticking up, we want to provide an overview on the futures market, and there's no better person to do it than our college baseball expert. He's dedicated to the diamond. He's our meteorologist in the Midwest, our very own Colin Wilson. If you're looking for Friday probables, if the wind's blowing in or out in a small college town, or you just want to cut it up and talk anything from WAR to XFIP, Colin is your man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, except for the $30 that's out of my pocket because I had to buy Flow Sports last weekend. It's like UMass, some of the college baseball, like you have to go and buy an additional subscription. It kind of stinks, but you know what? I will pay anything to watch college sports. Doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter if it's basketball, baseball, or football.
I've done something similar with Mississippi Valley State basketball. For 7.99, I got to see if they would break their winless streak. They did not, but they're off the schneid now, so I'm familiar with that grind. But let's talk about some of the top teams in the country in this particular sport. We're going to go down the futures board and look at the top 8 teams and who you think have value at this point. And we'll get it started with Wake at the very top of the board. They're currently plus 750 to win it all. Last season, they entered the College World Series as the top seed, but they couldn't get past the eventual champs at LSU. And a reminder to anyone not in the know, the preseason number one team has not won the whole thing since Miami back in 1999. So it is no sure thing that you're even going to make a deep run when you're the preseason number one. Then on the personnel front, Rhett Lauder leaves. Josh Hartle takes over as the ace in the rotation. So I'll pitch this question to you. Why could that team last year not do it? And is there a little bit of magic for the Demon Deacons this season to finally get over the hump?
Yeah, Wake Forest is right now 7-1 in the market. I don't think that's ever going to change leading up to regionals. And the thing is, they're about to enter an ACC play, and they'll dominate the teams that they should. But there are two best pitching staffs in the nation, a 1A and a 1B. And this is definitely 1A with Hartle. Chase Burns transferred in from Tennessee. He goes on Saturdays, and Michael Massey goes on Sundays. And they can win it all. It's just that they ran into LSU last year and nobody was beating LSU in the heater that they were on. So sadly, we still have that streak that you talked about where the number one overall seed in the postseason hasn't won it all since 99. They haven't even played in the championship game since I think like 2008. So you don't want this spot. Well, Wake Forest is the best team in the nation, but you don't want this spot.
All right, you mentioned LSU plus 750 in the market to repeat as defending champions, but they lose the huge star power, Paul Skeens, Dylan Cruz. My first question, did they fully reload? And second, how good could this bullpen be? Could this be their calling card this time around?
Well, the bullpen is marginally better than last year, but it was a dumpster fire last year. It was LSU's biggest problem was giving up games once their starters went out. Now, Thatcher Hurd has moved from Saturday over to Friday. He's putting up some pretty electric numbers, but the season may depend on Alabama transfer Luke Holman going on Saturday night because the bullpen hasn't taken a huge step forward. The numbers are fine right now, but we haven't started having conference play against other SEC teams. Don't see the lineup being as potent, although we've gotten 20 runs on the board so far. But it's really hard to replace Dylan Cruz, Paul Skeens. It's just impossible to replace that production. So that number also plus 750. I don't see that tailing off at all. That number's gonna be around for another month.
Speaking of other SEC teams, there's a few bundled here in the 10 to 1, 11 to 1 range. Let's start with the Arkansas Razorbacks, your Hogs. You've written that this is the deepest pitching staff Dave Van Horn has had in 3 decades in Fayetteville.
Mhm.
Hagen Smith has the look of an All-American already, but do you think they'll have enough from the plate to get it done? They were 98th nationally in slugging last year, and they're off to a quiet start to this season with 4 runs or fewer in 5 of their first 8 games. Do they get it done at the dish to make a deep run in the College World Series?
Yeah, the entire lineup has basically been JUCO transfers and transfer portal guys. Some of the best ones that were out there. Dave Van Horn got him in to come play in Fayetteville. Specifically, our shortstop, Aloy, came from Sacramento State. Hawaii kid. Everybody should check him out. He is going to be lethal. And you're right. Arkansas is 1B when I mentioned the best pitching stabs in the nation. Hagen Smith is a Randy Johnson reincarnation. We've got our former closer, Brady Tiger, going on Saturdays. And then on Sundays, we got Texas Tech Friday night guy Mason Molina to come in, and he's throwing just as many strikeouts as Hagen Smith. So it's all there for Arkansas, but they've already blown 2 games because of misproper use of the bullpen, which is a part of Dave Van Horn's entire career as the head coach of Arkansas. I have $0.00 on my alma mater. I can't even believe it because we've already lost 2 games to bullpen meltdowns. So sadly, I won't have any money on them for the next month.
On the other side of the coin, it's a team that has different strengths and weaknesses. That's Tennessee, also 10 to 1 in the market. They have a potentially elite lineup, but they have depth issues on their staff. You get Drew Beam on Friday nights, but who else can you rely upon in their rotation?
Yeah, AJ Russell has proven himself so far. He's gone on Friday nights and Saturday nights with Drew Beam. Those definitely are 1-2 on the staff, just as good, just a tier below Arkansas and Wake Forest from a pitching perspective. The lineup has so far been good enough to put runs up on the board. They're cruising right now. We're gonna have to get to SEC play to see what they do against the Vanderbilts, the Tennessees, I'm sorry, the LSU's, to see how good this bowl team. But I love Tony Vitello as a coach. I just wish he would take it easy on making fun of Arkansas, his former coaching position that he had.
All right, Florida 11-1 to win it all. I know this is a team sport, but we got to start with Jack Caglione. Is he the next Otani? Because he can throw 99 from the bump. He's a bit of a free swinger, but when he connects, my God, led the nation with 33 homers last year. The question here is simple. Is he good enough to put the whole team on his back? Is he truly that generational talent, or is it a little bit overblown in Gainesville?
Yeah, they lost some of their best pitchers. The pitching staff was the big questions here, but Jack Caglione throws on Sunday, and that's after he's jacking 30 home runs after playing in the field in game one and game two. So Florida is definitely deserves to be in the top five. They deserve a 9-1 number, but they have the biggest thing that everybody needs to watch over the next month is Saturday nights with freshman pitcher Liam Peterson. This team is not going to make a deep run unless Liam Peterson is dominating in game two of every series.
All right, let's finally go out west for a team. Oregon State 16-1 to win it all. This is a team that lacks star power, but they have no appreciable weaknesses. They're sound defensively, they can run on you. But is their lack of a true ace going to hold them back? And the way I'll phrase this question, is there a precedent set for a team to win it all without a dominant number one at the top of the rotation?
Coastal Carolina won it all without a dominant rotation. That's something I could think of. But if you get hot at the right time coming into Omaha, you can do anything. And Oregon State's one of those teams. Now they certainly needed Aiden May, their Friday night starter. He transferred in from Arizona. They need him to fill that spot as staff anchor. He came out of the game early against Arkansas and Arlington last weekend, grabbing his wrist, grabbing his elbow. He had a trainer walk off with him. If Aiden May is not pitching on Friday night this weekend, Oregon State's overall chances for a postseason and for a deep run are going to be very limited without their transfer star pitcher that's on Friday night. So keep an eye on Aiden May.
Another team at 16-1 that's actually my pick right now to add to my futures portfolio. That's TCU. This is a team that I've been bullish on dating back to last season, really because of their pitching. Cole Klecker as your Friday night starter, and then Peyton Toll. I think that's a great 1-2 punch and a great place to start things off. This staff's already top 10 in strikeouts with nearly 12 per game. What do they have to do to be considered in the same breath as a Wake or an LSU by the time we get to late April?
They're going to have to dominate the Big 12. They're going to have to show up against their SEC teams that they play midweek. They're going to have to dominate this schedule. The RPI is going to be a big deal of it, but they have the talent all the way, whether it's Peyton Tolley, who also plays in the field. He's sort of a light Jack Caglione from Florida, who's a light Shohei Ohtani. Peyton Tolley can do the same thing. Cole Klecker is the one where I've got real worries because he has a very high ERA, FIP, and XFIP. There's always a lot of runs in his game, but the good news is this TCU lineup is loaded. They can throw a ton of runs up on the board, and maybe the best closer of all top 10 teams with Ben Abelt coming in at the end. TCU is a legitimate national title threat. This number is only going to get shorter as we go along.
So we mentioned 7 teams so far. From here, the odds really start to jump up in the 20-1 and longer range. Of the grouping, let's call it A&M, Bama, Vandy, UVA, Clemson, Duke. Who do you like there as a team to potentially keep an eye on and add to a portfolio of futures moving forward?
Yeah, the bet right now by far is the Alabama Crimson Tide. They're 35-1 out there. If they sweep this weekend, there's a big weekend going on in Frisco. They're going to be taking on Arizona, Dallas Baptist, and a rising top 25 Indiana. If Alabama comes out of this weekend from Frisco undefeated, I expect this number to be 20-1. It will never look back as they get into SEC play. This is a team that challenged a run to Omaha last year. They brought a lot of that back. They have a fantastic closer. They have a fantastic lineup. They're going to be able to hang inside of SEC play. And, after this scandal and everything, and Luke Holman, the pitcher, transferring to LSU, this team still has enough to not just make a deep run, but to get to Omaha and challenge for the national title. So give me Alabama 35-1. They sweep this weekend. That's going to be a lot shorter.
Roll Tide, roll. Anybody else pique your interest?
Virginia almost made the top 10. I know we put out a top 10 Action Network power ranking. Virginia is almost there. The problem with Virginia, they have one of the highest park factors of any team, not just the ACC, of all Division One. They average 1.4 more runs at home than they do on the road. So you're going to see like these crazy numbers of Virginia beating teams by 15-20, but we don't know how good they are on a national scale until they play Wake Forest or some of the big boys in the ACC. So I love Virginia. We got to see some competition out of them.
So I'll be serving as Colin's bullpen catcher, keeping him fresh, keeping him warm so he can come into these BBOC segments, give you some actionable intel. Also, be sure to check him out on the Action Network website and award-winning app. He goes through pitching probables, matchups, as well as his power rankings, and there'll be more of that coming in the next 6 weeks. So be sure to keep an eye out for that.